Hello. Alrighty, thank you for waiting, everyone. Technical issues, but should be all good with Master Leo. For anyone that's not here, we are starting, so come on down. I plan on rambling for quite a while, so do get comfy and go to the toilet if you need, whatever. If we will go to the first slide, Leo. So let's jump right in. Hashtag blockit is an app that I've developed. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. For those that don't, for those that have forgot, let's jump back about a year ago when I first did my first inspo jam on blockit and when blockit was first released, a whole year ago now. So why did I create blockit? One simple reason, was distracted by the internet. And maybe you can relate, just going on the internet, sometimes losing focus on things when I should have been doing other things. And this happens, on Facebook. Friends post memes and they're funny and sometimes they're good on the weekend. Sometimes I get sucked into it when I really shouldn't. You see all sorts of things, not just friends, but Facebook even suggesting memes for you because they want to get your attention and they want to keep you coming back onto their feed and looking at their ads, which also show up in your news feed, whether you want them or not. And, well, I spoke about this a year ago, and I could go on again, but really this random guy on YouTube explains it pretty well. Leo?
Let's dive right into it. The first area which I think we all agree is probably the number one time waster online that we get distracted by are our social media news feeds. And that's literally by design of the way that they're set up, the likes, the comments, everything about it is designed to keep us engaged and keep scrolling. To avoid that, it's best to just remove them completely in a way that you can add them back in whenever you want to, but really just stops us when you accidentally end up on Facebook. You don't scroll for 15, 20 minutes. So this just really guards against that. So you can see on the screen, we've got hashtag blockit for Safari. Does what it says on the tin, blocks all the news feeds of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all of the different sites cost 99p to implement it on, which if we're talking about focus being one of the most important things and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett saying it's the most important thing which has contributed to their success, I don't think 99p for each social media network is too bad.
So that's nice. And so, yeah, basically what is blockit ultimately? To put it into short words, it's about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Because this stuff is good. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube can be good. It can be good for connecting with friends, maybe doing research, learning on YouTube, networking on LinkedIn. There's good sides to it and there's bad sides to it. So I created blockit that blocks the bad stuff so that you can do the good stuff. And how does it work? Put simply, it's just like an ad blocker. But instead of blocking ads, it blocks distractions. So if you have YouTube, blockit will make it look like on the right there. So it removes the sidebar videos, which can be really enticing, removes the comment section if you want. So this was, again, blockit a year ago. And not only that, it works on your iPhone, on your iPad, and on your Mac. So you can block it everywhere, have a holistic experience. And what was that experience like with the app a year ago? Well, say you wanted to block the YouTube feed here, well, the videos pop up when you come to YouTube, whether you sort of like it or not. You can go to blockit, and this is what it looked like. So you had the toggles for the different websites, you switch it on and off. And one problem, though, was that to enable content blockers or ad blockers on an iPhone or a Mac, you need to go into the settings down the bottom there, and you need to turn this on. This is just how Apple does it with the system, and it is a big pain point for the app because I need to instruct the users to do this. So in my first iteration, down the bottom there, it'll say if it's not enabled, and it'll say go to settings, Safari content blockers to enable it, and there's a button there to try and make it easier. So we go into settings, down to Safari. We can sort of go back and forth. Wait, where do I go again? Oh, yep, content blockers. Turn on blockit, go back. It's enabled. So this is required for the app to be effective at all. So it's a really important step, but I can toggle on YouTube, and then if I go back to YouTube, click the check it out button to see what I've done, it's blocked. So it does what it says on the tin. And that was blockit, version 1.1, ages ago. And a year ago, I set myself the goals to create customizable blockers. So maybe on Facebook, you want to block stories, but not the feed, or vice versa. That was something I wanted as a feature. Website blocking, so if you just want to block a whole URL across all your devices, another feature I wanted. And cloud sync, so you could set it up on just one device, and when you open it on another device, it just syncs. You don't have to duplicate work. And finally, to be paid, because, you know, it would be cool to make a little bit of money from doing this, see if people were that interested in it. And so, jumping forward, a year later, I'm proud to say that all those goals have been achieved. And we now have the blockit that you see today. And I'm sure you're all wondering, what does it look like? What do all these great features do? Is it amazing? Is it not? Ta-da! So this is blockit version 3.3. So a year ago it was 1.1. So it's come a long way. And let's have a look. If you especially compare it to the old version, looks way better in my opinion. And there's lots of new stuff on there to explore. Just briefly having a look, if we zoom in, we've got the cloud sync on the top left there, so everything's syncing with the cloud. We've got a settings menu for restoring purchases, contacting support. We've got all the different websites, and you can click into them and set them to be exactly how you want, turn things on and off. We've got Reddit, Twitter, LinkedIn. We've got blocking websites by the URL, and a little button at the bottom there to try and promote organic growth, so you can simply share blockit with a friend. And what is the experience like now? Well, let's have a look-see. When you first open blockit, I mentioned you need to turn on the content blocker. This is integral. So you get greeted with a welcome screen. And the key part of the welcome screen is instructing you that, hey, this content blocker thing is not enabled. Blockit requires a content blocker. Go to Safari, settings Safari content blockers to enable it. And also there's a see how button. So if we tap that one, it's more of a better guide to help people get through this difficult step. So step by step there, open settings, tap Safari. It's much better than how it was before, much more detailed. So here's one I prepared earlier. I can just flip into settings, enable blockit. Once I've done it successfully, I go back and it says it's enabled. And then the welcome screen is gone. So you don't need to be seeing that it's enabled 24/7 now. It'll pop up again if you somehow disable it, which is great. So it only pops up when you need it. And as you can see, Facebook has no lock sign. All the rest have a lock sign, so they are locked. Facebook, I give out of the kindness of my heart to all my users so that they can be more focused. So let's check out Facebook and what it's like. So you can see now there's an option for each thing you might want to block. We have a big image to show you kind of like a preview of what you're blocking. There's some buttons at the bottom. You can tap the toggle and you can see how it sort of changes. And if you go into Facebook, you can see if you refresh the changes yourself. Going back, you can actually just tap the image and it sort of interacts with your thumb. It's really fun and much more tappable as a target. So really big improvement for usability. We hide stories there. So users can sort of mix and match and hide and block what they want. And a bunch of options. So down the bottom we have two buttons, check it out. So this is to try and help people because when they toggle something to block it, they're sort of like, okay, what happened? If they scroll down to the bottom, they can click that button. It used to take you to facebook.com, but in a recent iOS update, I can't do that anymore. So it just shows you a dialog, and there's a submit feed button as well to take you to the blockit help site if you want to contact support. So check it out, tells you to go to facebook.com, and clicking submit feedback takes you to the support site, just a free little site that I set up, and people can send me a message that goes to my email. So that is Facebook. And what about if you want to unlock something that costs? What is that experience like? You can also disable it on and off really quickly if you want to just spend a weekend on Facebook or something. So let's check out YouTube, one that is paid. So you can see that everything's sort of grayed out. There's lock symbols to convey that it's locked. And in the top right, hopefully you see that there's an unlock symbol. So if we go and we tap the unlock, it will take us to this screen. So this screen, you are very lucky to see because you, lucky visitor to Blockit, are eligible for a bundle offer. Unlock all the websites for a discounted price, but only on your first website unlock. So it's basically, for those that aren't good at maths like me, you get 5 unlocks for the price of 3. So this is an offer I do for the first unlock of any website. Just for demo purposes, I'm just going to unlock YouTube and not do the bundle offer. And it's pretty standard in-app purchase flow. Tap it, pay for it, and enjoy it. And it unlocks. You can go toggle things off and it will affect your youtube.com. YouTube is a big seller. Lots of people love the YouTube unlock. And so there's like the experience you'll have on YouTube once you've unlocked that. And just one more, what if you unlock something after that? So maybe you want to go to Instagram. What's the experience like now that you've sort of bypassed the bundle option? You just tap the unlock button and it goes straight to the single purchase. And you can unlock it and you can block things on Instagram and so on. And it also works in landscape mode, sort of nice. This is mainly for iPad and Mac. We need to have that adaptive responsive display, but it was actually sort of usable on an iPhone. Now, that is blocking elements on websites. What about just blocking websites, which is a completely new feature? Let's check that out. So we add a URL. I can set a URL that starts with or contains something. A few different options. And if I'm sort of stuck, which some people are, if they're not too tech savvy, there's a see how button to get a bit of a guide again. So saying go to Safari, go to the website you want to block, copy the URL and paste it into Blockit. So I struggle with macrumors.com. I'm a big Apple nerd. I'm always trying to read Apple news and see something cool that they're doing and get like a little kick. So it's a bit of a problem now. I'm into Apple too much. So I'm going to block it, copy the URL, go back in, paste it in. And now if I go back to Macrumors, I can't go on it. So that's nice sometimes when I'm wanting to concentrate because honestly, it's a problem. Now, I also struggle with the Reddit subreddit Apple, r/Apple. So I need to block that as well because I'm really bad. Now, again, there it is. There's what it looks like. Lots of good stories and little interesting things. If I go back to Blockit and I want to block something else, well, it's another in-app purchase. So I tap it, $3, unlock it to get unlimited website blocking. And that goes through successfully. So now I go back to Reddit, copy the URL, and paste it into Blockit like before. And so I'm blocking that as well. And I can go on for any more sites that I might have problems with or I'm getting a bit too stuck into. And so that is the blocking website experience. You can go back to Macrumors and disable it maybe on the weekend if you do want to read when you have time or whatever. And that's generally most of the key features of Blockit. But there's more. It all syncs to iCloud and it works on all your devices. So if you have an iPad, you can just download Blockit and it's actually sort of a decent iPad UI. Everything will sync across, so you can see all my websites have synced, all my elements and everything have synced. And also if you have a Mac, you can download Blockit as well, and you can see the Mac version has the macOS look and feel, so it's really sort of like a native, nice experience. Again, everything will sync between all your devices. So that is Blockit in its current state. And obviously, when you see before and after, it's a pretty stark contrast, but it has been a long journey with many iterations, the 2.0 iteration in particular. And I think to best convey this journey, we can look at the home screen and see how it has changed over time. So jumping back, version 1.1, which was launch, really simple. Version 1.2, I added stories blocking, but you couldn't, if you wanted to block just stories and not the feed, you couldn't do that. And that was a requested feature. So I think it was like in March when there was like the COVID was starting to hit and like uni took like a week off, I smashed out Blockit 2.0, which had the customized blockers. And that was when I added in-app purchases for the first time. So you can see you've got the websites there that you can tap into. Looking pretty simple still. I added the app icons to improve the readability of the list. Added the lock icons so that you knew which ones you had available to you and which ones you needed to purchase easily. And behind my name there, my image there, it says feedback button. So this was interesting because people would have issues with it, like they might have a problem unlocking something, just a general issue with the app. And they would go to the App Store listing and leave a review saying, hey, I couldn't figure out this, 3 stars. And that was a problem because I don't want them leaving bad reviews. I want them to be able to contact me if they have a problem and only leave reviews if they're going to leave a good review. So I added, as you saw before, the feedback button at the bottom of each website so that they can easily contact me if they're having issues. And that actually fixed the problem of people leaving reviews when they should be submitting support tickets to me instead. 2.3, added the welcome screen, and behind my name again, you can see that I removed the bottom bar. And the welcome screen was good because it improves the first experience of the user and also improves how they toggle the Safari content blocker. But also I wanted to make space because I was adding the ability to block any website you wanted. So I needed a tab bar at the bottom so that you could switch between those two different things. I initially wasn't going to chuck it all on the same screen. 2.4, I added Reddit blocking. And then 3.0, another big update. 2.4, iCloud Sync. I was dabbling in iCloud Sync. So the first thing to iCloud Sync was your purchases. So if you unlocked it on your phone, downloaded on your Mac, it would just be unlocked. So dabbling in iCloud. And yes, 3.0 was a big update. And you can see, like I said before, I added a tab bar to the bottom so that you could block any website you wanted. And this worked, but except people wouldn't see it. So it wasn't as discoverable, and people wouldn't know about the tab bar and wouldn't check out the website blocking. So in 3.1, I moved it just into be a single page. And you can see that if you haven't blocked any websites, it's very, very little addition to the screen real estate. So it fit in nicely. I also added some more blocking options to some of the websites and a general UI update. 3.2, this was when iOS 14 came out, macOS Big Sur. So again, it went through a bit of a UI update. I updated the Swift UI, so that's how I do the UI. There was a big update to that, so I had to fix it all up for all the major changes. And before, this add button used to be there, and it was horrible, and I got some sanity, and I put it there, and it looks way better. Don't know why I did that. And finally, 3.3, which is where we're at now, added full iCloud sync, the help a friend button at the bottom, and in the top right there, it says bundle purchase option. So you saw that. It's actually only a recent addition, the ability to do the bundle purchase for a discount. And so that's the story of the journey of blockit feature-wise. But what about some of the more nitty-gritty, interesting stuff, downloads and sales? How has blockit gone? Let's dive in. So looking at downloads throughout the year from January to January now. And January I have left off. We will come back to January later. Let's check out sales, the money man. How has it gone? So for a while it was free, and then I had in-app purchases, and they were free for a bit, and then I monetized them. So you can see it ticks along, and it pays for a coffee or two a week, but slowly grows. My lows get higher and my highs get higher, and again, January has been left off. Let's go back to the downloads and have a look at January. So we actually need to adjust the scale for that one a little bit. January was really good. Thank you. It perked up a bit over Christmas, and then it sort of took off, and one day I had 300 downloads. That was my best day. And so obviously, how did sales go around that point? And again, we need to adjust the scale. Let's check it out. So yeah, it doubled in December, and then in January it tripled, and it was really, really good, and I was stoked. $80 in one day. That's the best it's done so far. That was when it got 300 downloads. Yeah, really, really happy with it. If we check out some of the other stats, you can see we've had like 11K product views, so that's checking out the App Store listing. This is just iOS, so I've had almost 3,000 downloads. Generally, the sales per paying user has gone up over time, especially with the bundle unlock option. I'll go into more detail on that later. Had a bunch of crashes for a little while. I think that was in the major iOS update. Who likes blockit? Tends to be English-speaking countries predominantly, US, Australia, UK, Canada. And behind my name there, you got to reveal it, is our good friends, the one and only, you've guessed it, the Germans. They love blockit. They absolutely love it, and that's great because I love the Germans. Where do they come from? Predominantly App Store search, which is cool. I don't really do advertising. It's just people searching in the App Store and coming through to my app. And what about for the devices? Mostly iPhone, very little iPad. What about for Mac? It gets a ton of impressions. I don't know why. I think it's because the Mac App Store has much less apps. A bunch of page views, 1,000 app units, and again, sales per paying user have gone up over time. Where do they come from? Again, the big English-speaking countries, except for the Germans. They love it. And they come from search, but also a lot more from browse, so just looking in categories and stuff like that. So that is downloads and sales, but obviously, when you jump a year back and you jump a year forward straight away, it can seem like not much, but the sales has been a journey trying to get this number up. And I'd like to go through that journey and some of the things I tried to do to improve it. I generally rank it like so for what I think contributes to sales. The first one is features, so obviously you've seen all the features that the app offers now, and I've added features over time, right? The second one is the app listing. So when you search for blockit, what do you see? What are the screenshots like? The description. Third, the reviews. Obviously needs to have good reviews. And then fourth, used very generally, just like organic growth. So we've gone through features. Let's have a look at the app listing and how that has evolved over the year. So this is a year ago, and these were the screenshots I had. I had this whole idea of, attention revolution solution. Block distractions, keep functionality, showing off YouTube blocking. Just block it, man. Some screenshots there, and the fact that you can, focus everywhere. It's on all your devices. This was all right. It was a bit like, I don't know. It was a bit like, yeah, man, this is really cool. Like a bit fluffy, for lack of a better word. So what is it like now? Well, if we check out searching for blockit on the App Store. So you can search for something like block social media. And what's pretty cool is that blockit will show up at the top for that search. And you can see the screenshots there, and I actually have a video as well to show off what blockit does, and this shows up when you search. So if we go into it, and we can check out the video, and so you can't hear the voice recording, but I'm saying like, oh, is the newsfeed distracting you? It's really bad. Just block it. And one simple toggle and it's gone. And yeah, so you can see it's gone. And this is just to show off what blockit does in a video really quickly. The core feature of it is hiding something like that. And then we go into the screenshots. So the screenshots are different, and I think much better. They connect more with the features people are interested in. So I mentioned YouTube being a big seller. Facebook is free. A lot of people are interested in that too. So I put them at the start and I say what the feature is, blocking only distractions. Another big seller is the fact that you can block any website, so that is again second. And behind me there it says sync to all your devices, so for iCloud. And then it goes on to show each website and why you might want it. So keep content, block unrelated on YouTube. Instagram, keep posting but block stories, so a lot of people mention not really liking stories. Keep networking, block not working. Not my best work, but if you think something better, it sort of works. On LinkedIn, just sort of trying to connect the feature with the feeling behind of why they might want it. Keep connecting, block distractors on Twitter. And keep Googling, block time wasting on Reddit. So you can see I get more desperate as we go on, coming up with things. And then finally, iCloud sync, available everywhere. And this is sort of like, do that cool thing where the image goes over too, just to show you can get it on all your devices, a bit of a cross-sell. And also when you search, this has been improved. So one thing I did, blockit, block distractions. It used to just be hashtag blockit, but putting block distractions has significantly ranked me higher in the search, just having those keywords. The subtitle there, stop attention theft. It's one I came up with just sort of when I was thinking of advertising, like a little catchy slogan, sort of trying to provoke anger in the user. That your attention, if you spend a minute more on Facebook or YouTube than you wanted to, your attention, people, has been stolen. And attention and time never comes back. So it's been irreplaceably stolen. And doesn't that anger you? And don't you want to stop that? Yeah. You should sue Facebook and download blockit. This is an attention revolution solution for the video and sort of showing off the key features straight away. I used to have a subtitle that was keep the good, block the bad. It was all right, and it was also too long, so it got cut off. If we have a look at the person under me, quiet, you can see it gets cut off. Block annoyances on the whoop. So it gets cut off. I really don't like quiet. I will pick on them throughout this, and for good reason. Quiet is just the worst app, except Apple always highlights them in their little best extensions. Level up your browser, download Quiet. Essential Safari extensions, download Quiet. I'm jealous, is to say the thing, and I want to be featured on this list, and so I don't like Quiet because they're not as good as me, I think. So that's the app listing and how it's evolved. What about reviews? Reviews are really important, right? Collecting reviews and getting good reviews. That's what we want to do. So how do I collect reviews? You can actually do this in-app, and you get to sort of choose when you want to ask them for a review. So I want them to only give a review if I think they're going to give a good one. So if they've opened the app 3 times and they're at least blocking something, on the 3rd time they open the app, they'll get this prompt. And this is I just call a function that says ask for a review, and then Apple sort of takes control from there. They pop up with this. If they leave a review, they can submit a 5-star rating really easily, and they can also submit a written review afterwards. So it's simple to leave a review. And speaking of reviews, how are the reviews? Are they good? Are they bad? What's my rating? Well, on iOS, 4.6 out of 5, happy to say. 37 ratings total. What are some of the reviews? I use it for both my iPhone and Mac. Helps you focus and block out things which can distract you. 5-star review that one was. This app has helped me so much with my internet addiction. It is literally a life changer. The world needs more developers like you. Thank you, Shifting Dogs, for the win. You're very nice. Behind my name there, it says, this works so well. I paid 99 cents for blocking YouTube, but I honestly think this is worth way more for my YouTube addiction. Sorry, Leo, making life difficult for you. This app is the best and most simple to use distraction limiting platform. But obviously they're not all 5 stars. Most of them are, but not all. I gave it 3 stars because it only works on Safari and not the actual YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook apps themselves. So this is another big education issue I have with the app, is I constantly need to reiterate to the user, this only works on Safari and for Facebook.com. It doesn't work on the app. So constantly trying to educate the user on that throughout the experience. What about for Mac? 4.6 as well, 71 ratings. More reviews on there. The dev is amazing. I messaged him asking for an update for Big Sur for the M1 Max, and it was done within a day. So again, people send me feedback. I get emails all the time, and I try to make them happy. The best selective blocker I have used. A shame there is a one-off fee per app, which adds up. So this is why the bundle option sort of helps with that. Again, behind me, this is exactly what I was looking for, feedless Facebook on my Mac. So feedless was like a few years ago, and it was kind of like the OG Blockit. But I've seen some people saying now that Blockit is better than feedless. So feedless is like defunct now, it doesn't work anymore, just so you know. Not all reviews are good. Does not work at all. Still have annoying ads. Blockit is not an ad blocker. So again, constantly trying to educate people on what it does. This works really well and gets the job done. Superb support from Geordie too. So again, people contacting me. And what's really funny is that people contact me, they have bugs with the app. I reply as quick as I can. I say, oh, really sorry, let me help you with that. Let's get it sorted out. I fix the issue. And then they're ecstatic. They're like, oh my God, this is so good. I'm going to leave a 5-star review. And it's really funny that people come to me with a problem, I fix it, and then they're like, oh, 5 stars. And it's just funny that I turn a problem into a 5-star review really easily just by supporting them. So that's reviews. And finally, organic growth. So how do I sort of try to grow the app and just get it out there? One of the little ones is just the help a friend button at the bottom, just to sort of prompt the user to share it. But generally, trying to get organic growth and improve it, one thing to look at is the big surge of organic growth, or whatever you might call it, that happened before. And the big question is, what caused the surge before? Let's not dance around it. Now, I'm still guessing on it. Some of my best guess is that I only recently updated the screenshots to be put the core features at the front. I also only used to have Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram screenshots. I recently added LinkedIn, Twitter, and Reddit screenshots. And I think that it's given more value to those ones because they used to be like the least purchased. So by putting them in the screenshots, more people notice them and more people see more value in the app. And finally, the bundle offer. Now, this is probably one of the big brain things I've done with the app recently, and I owe a lot to this idea. It has served me quite well. And the way I came up with this only came out like a month ago. And the way I saw it was that most people come to the app and they download YouTube. And at most, they get Instagram. And that's about it. So they unlock like 2 things in total, right? And so I thought, well, how can I get them to spend more? And that's when I came up with the idea of the bundle offer. So I bundle it and I say it's unlikely that they will buy all of them, but I can prompt them at the start and make it like a one-off thing, only for your first purchase, that you save money by unlocking more at the start. And this, when people come to the app, it's their first time. They're coming in to unlock YouTube because that's what they all love. They see this and they go, like I want YouTube. Maybe I want Instagram. And then if I want Instagram, well, I save money by getting the bundle now. And so it just prompts them to spend extra. And this has had a very real effect. You can see on that update there, that was when I added the bundle offer, and you can see that sales went right up. People were suddenly spending way more on the app, which was really good. Now, throughout all this, it's been a long journey. What have I learnt throughout it? So these are some of this might be obvious. This is just me wanting to talk about the things that I've learnt personally, and maybe you might find it interesting. The first one I call features and feelings. So this is related to sales. And I think sometimes when trying to sell something, advertise something, people can lean too much towards trying to evoke feelings and not get the features noticed. So what I mean by this is I've done it myself. In the first screenshots, I mentioned they were just like a bit fluffy. Attention revolution solution, oh yeah, just block it, customize, concentrate, block distractions. It's a bit hard to tell, okay, what does this actually do? What are the features? I can sort of see it, but it's not obvious. It's not in my face. Available everywhere, focus everywhere. Like, if I left that there, would you understand that there's iCloud sync? So I sort of thought that it's a bit too feelings focused, trying to evoke feelings in people. And this stems from me being like, oh my God, this is my app. It's so great. If I say great words, like amazing or keep functionality, like people will agree with that. But they don't. They don't think it's awesome. I need to show them the features so that they see that it's awesome. So now, if you have a look on the Mac App Store, when you go to download blockit, so we search for it, I think I lean more towards features now. So again, we sort of grab them in, but the video says, are you distracted by the YouTube homepage? This is something a lot of people are interested in. If we watch that video in fully. So yeah, distracted by the YouTube homepage, a feature lots of people are interested in, and so I show that off straight away. You can see YouTube there, a little bit of the feelings, just block it, try to get that like bit of sales across, and showing you blocking the YouTube homepage there and saying that, hey, this feature is available for other websites. So maybe you're interested in this feature for another website as well. And we say that it's amazing at the end there. So again, show off the feature, block only distracting elements, and show it off on the sites that they're interested in. Not as much fluff. Block any website, sync to all devices. Again, the key features people are looking for. But then I sort of go back towards, okay, this is the feature, keep notifications, block news feeds. And then I slowly get into a bit more of the feeling around it. So you know what it does now, but what about the feelings of like, oh, I thought I was working, but I wasn't when I'm on LinkedIn because I'm just sort of wasting time on the feed now, or I keep getting sucked into Reddit. But generally, an iCloud sync everywhere. I'm leaning more towards just saying these are what the features are, less towards trying to evoke feeling. And this is something that's done not only in blockit, but if we have a look at some of the top paid ads, on the left there, Procreate Pocket, if we have a look, they do this pretty well. So you can see there that they show off the feature, the color picker, but it's on top of like a really cool picture that's inspiring and that's feeling. If you have a look at the other ones, we see a good picture that evokes a nice feeling. You can see that, oh, the feature is I can do it on my phone. And then again, we see the brush set, a feature that lots of people would be interested in. And then drawing guides on top of a really cool picture, again, feelings. So mixing that feature with the feeling, but it's primarily saying, hey, these are the features you want. We've got them, because that's, I think that's the base thing that you need. People are looking for certain features and they want to know that. If we have a look at Facetune's really interesting. So they can see there the feature is that, hey, we'll make you look good using AI. Just swipe and you will look better. Get precisely the results you want on your teeth. Effortlessly natural results. And it's really interesting how Facetune does this, because the feature they're selling is the fact that this is an AI face editor, right? And it'll make you look better, but it will also make you, it'll also be really easy to use. So effortlessly natural results sort of evokes the idea that it's effortless to use the app, right? Because why am I looking for an AI sort of Photoshop when I could just use Photoshop? Well, Photoshop's difficult. I want the good results easy. I want it effortlessly. But on top of that, I don't want to look like I'm done up and I'm artificial. I want to actually look like I'm natural, like I effortlessly woke up and look like this. So Facetune rides the line of saying it's effortless to use and you will look effortlessly beautiful when you use it. So I think they do a pretty good job of selling that idea. And what about a bad one? Well, who else would we look at? But Quiet. It's so bad. It's just all feature. Block social media on a grey background with a picture. And remove privacy invaders. Hide unnecessary share buttons. Remove distract. It's just, what do you feel looking at that? Nothing. You're like, I'm not interested in this. It's horrible. It's features, yeah, but you just feel nothing looking at it. It's like looking at a bit of paper. So again, riding that line between selling the features and selling the feelings. Generally lean more towards features, I think, but feelings are important and evoking them is important. The difference between luck and skill in success. So obviously you need to work hard and have skill to achieve success, but also it's difficult and you can't foresee everything no matter how smart you are. You might get better at it over time, but ultimately there's an element of luck. You might have the best plan, and that's related to skill, how well your plan can be, but as the famous quote goes, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You can't foresee everything. And what pops up to destroy your plan, a part of it, I think, is luck. And what's important to remember with this is that whilst there's some good stats to look at now, that for a long time, the stats weren't very good. And I was trying very hard to improve those stats. And I would work hard and do something and be like, yes, this is when it takes off. And for a long time, I was a sad Geordie trying to do something, thinking I've got a great plan, and it doesn't really work out. What are some of those plans? Well, obviously, an Instagram influencer campaign is a good one, right? I just randomly messaging people on Instagram, giving them free unlock codes, hoping that they'll be like, oh, this is cool and so good, I should share it with my 10,000 followers. And most people ignored it. Some of them were nice and they chatted and they were like, oh, cool. And they took the promo code and left. One guy, Web Dev Tips, he was really nice. We chatted for a while and then he was like, does it work on Chrome? And I was like, oh, damn. So yeah, that was one thing I tried. Another thing I tried, you don't need to worry about audio for this one, connecting with the users where they are. So I don't know where I got this idea from, but there's sort of this idea that people are out there asking questions and we should like have the answers to those questions. And so I was like, oh, this is good. So I should do that. And I thought they're probably coming through YouTube, so I'll put a video on YouTube. I made this flashy, like, how to block the Facebook newsfeed on all your devices. And to this day, it has like 87 views, and it came out like middle of last year. So it obviously didn't really have any effect. Another one, going on Reddit and making posts. This is a little bit naughty, what I've done here. Some of them, I pretend I am the creator of Blockit, and I'm like, cool, Apple, SwiftUI, check out this app I built. And they got like a few views, not really much. But the one down the bottom there wasn't by the creator of Blockit. Staying productive but not deleting social media. I posted to R Productivity talking about, hey guys, like, I don't want to delete my social media, but I'm really getting distracted by it. I found this like great app that works well called Blockit. Just like, do you have any other apps or anything? Like, what works for you guys? And it got a bunch of upvotes, especially for R Productivity, which like the top post of the day gets like 200. And it provoked a lot of discussion. But unfortunately, the discussion wasn't based around, hey, let's all buy Blockit. It was based around what their own thoughts were of like, oh, well, I just like turn this off and I use this distraction and I have this and that. So it didn't... So it turned into like a productive post, but it didn't really affect sales too much. So obviously I just kept at it. And eventually, like, I've seen good results. So ultimately just... whether luck matters or not, like I could have done the things I've done in December, January. I could have done it all the way at the start, you know. But how I figured that out was an element of luck, I think. But the short story is keep trying. And now the last idea is that I think execution is greater than the idea. So ideas are a dime a dozen, and how you execute it ultimately is the most important part. And the man himself backs me up on this. He says, to me, ideas are worth nothing unless executed. They're just a multiplier. Execution is worth millions. So what do I mean by this? You could have the idea of, hey, I'm going to open a place that serves food. Yeah, and you're going to like make people sign an NDA so that they don't steal your idea if you tell it to them. And then you go and do it, right? And two people might do it, but they'll do it completely differently. The execution will be different. On the left, you have a very simple one. On the right, you have like a really fancy one. Which one will be more successful? If we measure it in terms of monetary success, the one on the left might be cheap, simple, good location, tons of people come there, it makes tons of money. The one on the right, it's expensive rent, all the food is expensive, paying the chefs is expensive, everyone that comes in is really picky, and it's getting like bad reviews because I couldn't keep up with that. So the execution of how you do something is more important than the idea itself because there's so many details in the execution. And even just another example, hey, it's a large screen that you can tap on and use, and you can see how you could get two very different approaches between an iPad and like an Android tablet, just in terms of how it's developed, how it integrates with other things. So it's a similar idea, but the end result is very different because of the execution. And furthermore, I've always known that Blockit is a simple idea at its core. I mean, I made it within like a month as a rookie developer, and I knew that someone else could do this as well, and that Blockit needed to stand out in its experience and its features overall. And this is true because Blockit has competitors now, and they weren't around before. They came out after Blockit came out. So this one on the left here, Feedaway, came out 6 months after Blockit, and it again shows off the whole Safari content blocker thing. It lets you block the feed and the YouTube feed. And that's about it, right? But it's pretty average. It's a very average app. The execution is poor. So it doesn't do that well, and it hasn't been updated in a while. Another one, block feed, is actually pretty nice. But again, it came out 6 months after blockit. So coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so. Facebook is free. The rest you have to pay for. That looks familiar. It's a pretty nice app too, though. But the features aren't there, and some of the things like instructing the user to turn on the content blocker isn't as good. So again, the experience of blockit, and I've always known this, it has to be better than anything else. And finally, intention. This one actually has good features, 7 months after blockit. In that you can toggle certain things on and off, like the feed or stories, but it's a very, very simple app again. And I can tell you, based off my experience with users, that people are going to struggle with this, turning on the content blocker, seeing what happens. And what's more, I don't think any of these have a Mac version, right? So I've covered all bases. So that is the competitors of blockit and their execution. And that is where blockit is at today and the landscape. What about blockit going forward? Some of my goals that I've set is to localize the app. So for other countries that don't speak English but do go on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram and that, localizing the app would improve more downloads from them. Blocking website categories is an idea that I might implement. So that's just having a toggle to block all social media sites or all gaming sites or all video sites. Something I'm interested in. Another big one, advertising. So I haven't done any paid advertising yet. And it's a difficult one. Advertising like on Facebook, YouTube, it's expensive, especially since it makes money but not like a high revenue on blockit to justify paying for advertising on some of those websites. So I would like to do advertising but still trying to figure out what to do best exactly. And finally, I don't have any analytics on it, so like tracking what users do in the app. Once I give it to them, the only way I know if they're using it is if they send me an email saying something's broken or if I get an in-app purchase. Now, I'm a bit iffy with analytics because right now, if you check the privacy label for the app on the App Store, and it's pretty prominent, it says no data is collected, and that's great. And I think if I add Google Analytics to it, I have to say that some data is collected. And I'm worried that people, when they think social media, they think, yeah, data collection, it's stealing my data. And if they come to this app and they're less than like tech savvy, they might see that and think, oh my God, it's going to steal my Facebook account details, it's going to steal this and that. So I'm sort of staying away from analytics for as long as I can because I think people will see that and get a bit scared and think I'm going to steal their social media details. But that is generally where blockit is going. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate everyone who came in, everyone who wasn't in today, and everyone on Zoom for listening to my talk of where blockit is 1 year later. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What made you pick a one-off payment instead of subscription?
So the question was, what made you pick a one-off payment instead of subscription? So Feedless, the one that was like the OG blockit and is now defunct, that used to be a subscription, and it was like, I think it was like $1 a month or so, and it was like quite expensive. And I personally, like, even though I was really interested in the idea, that was too much to pay for me. And I also didn't like the idea of a subscription for something very simple. So initially when I created blockit, it was always just going to be a one-off purchase because I think it's simple and I think that's what it's worth. I don't think people would be interested in a subscription for something that's relatively simple. Some people say it's worth more. I don't know. It's a fine line. But I think there's, I've had like 2,000-3,000 downloads. There's many people on Facebook and YouTube, so I think it still has a lot of room to grow. No, so that actually came out a few months ago, and I only saw it recently when I was just looking up blockit stuff to try for this. And it's this guy. He was doing a video on like the 4 best Safari extensions that he uses, and blockit was number 1, and I was stoked when I saw it. Yeah, I have messaged him. I was really stoked that someone liked it so much that they wanted to make a nice video and share it with their audience. It was really cool. Unfortunately, it has like only 400 views though, so didn't take off, which would have been nice. Leo. Yeah, thinking of the search, I've really been thinking. I think I had more web referrals during that surge, but for the life of me, I can't find anywhere someone mentioning blockit in like a big post. I found a few places where blockit is mentioned, like in some Reddit posts. Someone was like, "Hey, like this feedless app doesn't work anymore," and a guy was like, "Oh, well, there's actually this thing called blockit. It doesn't have a subscription and it's way better." So it's really cool seeing people chat about it on the internet unprovoked. Yeah. CSS selector. Yeah, so this is interesting. Leo asked the question of how do I keep up with the fact that I'm using CSS selectors to block things. So how do I keep up when the websites are constantly changing and evolving? The fact of the matter is they don't change that much at all. It's not really, I don't need to be real time, like updating it every week or anything. They stay the same for a long time. And YouTube actually today changed a little bit of the look of their YouTube app, but all of the blockit blocking still works. Um, Generally, I find out when it's broken for my own use, or someone contacts me and they're like, "Hey, it's broken." A recent one I've had was like the Facebook Stories blocking. A guy contacted me from like uh, Denmark. So I get people contact me from around the world, which is cool. Contact me from Denmark. He's like, "Hey, the stories blocking isn't working." I was like, "Oh, have you tried this, this, and that?" And I was like, "Can you send me a screenshot?" And I saw that his Facebook was in Danish. And that the stories wasn't being blocked. So I put my Facebook into Danish as well, and I went and looked at the CSS. And the way I was blocking stories was using the accessibility ARIA label that says stories. But in Danish, it's whatever. So I had to change it for the fact that people around the world use different languages on the websites. And I had to make sure I didn't use words that change with the language. I've recently added something Twitter blocking in the Explore. Twitter is a pain to work with for blocking. And the way I'm blocking something is using one of the accessibility labels. And I've just got like 10 different things for each different core language because it's a much better experience using that label and I couldn't figure out how to do it elsewise. And so if someone contacts me from like, "Oh, Bolivia," I'll be like, "Oh, let me put in the Bolivian insert." Like, so yeah, um, it's a bit of fun. Kieran?
How much do you think the spike in January could be to do with New Year's resolutions?
Ooh, could be. I saw a peak. It like doubled over December, and I was like, oh, like people getting another Apple device, and they're getting it on their second device. One thing to note is that if you purchase anything on your iPhone and then you get it on your Mac, you actually have to repurchase everything again. It doesn't sync. And so yeah, if people get like a new device, they would have to purchase it again. I've had some people email me about this and they're like, "Hey, the purchase didn't sync to my Mac." And I message them back and I say, "Hey, developing for Mac is extra work, like a decent amount of extra work. And so this is why I charge again. To make it so you can have an experience on everything, I have to charge again." And most people are like, "Oh, that's fine. I don't mind paying for like quality software." So most people are happy with it. Literally, that's what one of the guys that left a review said. Not my words, not his.
What's the plan for other browsers and other mobile devices?
Yes. So I've thought long and hard about this, and Apple has a good setup for a couple of reasons. Developing such that your app works on an iPhone, iPad, and Mac is really easy. A lot of the code, I don't really have to change between all the devices, and that's really great considering it's going on like tons of devices and on a desktop. Additionally, with the content blocking for Safari, it's a similar experience on every device. So on the Mac, you have to enable the content blocker thing, but it's much easier. And also iCloud Sync, obviously there's iCloud there to bring everything together. Trying to offer that experience for non-Apple devices is, first of all, you have Android, which is Google, And then, well, what do people use that don't have a Mac? They might use Linux or Windows, and that's a whole different company. So there's not as much of a sync there. So you would need some sort of third-party syncing thing. And then Chrome has extensions, and there's actually extensions for Chrome that do what blockit does, and they're free. And you have to think, how would people be willing to pay for their Chrome extension? I don't really think they would, especially when there's other Chrome extensions that do it already. So it's the fact that the App Store, downloading something from the App Store, I think people are more likely to be willing to pay. And yeah, so they're the main reasons that the ecosystem isn't there for like a seamless experience on all your devices. And also on Android, people are less likely to pay for things. Apps tend to be more ad-driven. I mean, blockit is something that you open like once or twice a week, if that. You tend to set it and forget it. So it's not worth it, I think. I've sort of got a niche, and I stick to it. Yeah. Leo.
So you said these competitors that have popped up after you lost it. Some of them have strangely similar features to you, and I do wonder, did you get some feature ideas from them, or have they just copied your app?
No. Because none of them match the feature set I offer. Those ones are actually, besides block feed, the other two are free. So I think it's just some developers come along and be like, oh, this is really easy, and they've just like spun out a little app real quick. And yeah, it works if you like are sort of tech savvy and you know how to do all that stuff. But I think a lot of users, they want the feature that blockit offers, but they're not tech savvy and they might not understand it as well. And so that's where blockit comes in, and I try to make it as easy as possible. And again, offering it on all your devices with iCloud Sync, that's something else I offer. In terms of what I've copied from other apps, I tend to I'm always looking at other apps, like what are their screenshots like? Why does this look good? Why does that look good? What does my app look like? What is my purchase flow like? What is the welcome screen like? And just trying to improve it and keep it good. Additionally, on that note, trying not to add too much. So as people contact me and they're like, oh, can you block this as well? And it's sort of like, well, no, because I don't think people will be interested in that. So trying to keep it just to that minimum core product and not get feature bloat is something that I'm very conscious of. Toy. No one said that yet, but they'd have to pay me a fair bit because it has to be worth it for all users. That said, people do contact me and they're like, oh, can we block this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And I add it and I let them know. Generally though, like I won't be adding any more websites because it would be too many websites in that list. And I try to keep all options 6 or less. So even for like the sub-blocking things for each website, I don't want to add too many because then it's just like this huge list that's like a pain to navigate. So trying to keep it, again, just that minimum, the core essence features. Quiet. Quiet has a different feature set to me. And it's only worth like $10, that app. Nah, I don't think they're a threat. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for listening. And any questions on Zoom? I don't know. No. Eben, maybe?
Presentation, Geordie. I love always listening to your presentations, mate. You're an absolute star.
Thanks,
Well
Eben.
done.
Thanks for the claps, everyone. Thank you, again for listening.